These are your evening headlines for March 19th, 2026, right here on BYU-Idaho Radio. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Kimber Pierce. For the third year in a row, BYU-Idaho is hosting a Passover event in preparation for Easter. The event is April 1st and will include a Passover-style dinner and lesson to teach the meaning behind it. The Passover meal, also known as a Seder, is a ritualistic meal eaten during the Jewish holiday to remember the deliverance of the Hebrews out of Egypt. BYU-Idaho religion professor Rex Butterfield oversees the event this year.
The Savior's Last Supper was actually a Passover meal. So to commemorate that, and to get the run-up to Easter, we have started doing the Passover meal. It's a Passover experience. It's not exactly a Passover meal. There are a lot of similarities, but this is not a Jewish Seder. It's pointed at members of the church.
The meal contains lots of symbolism from the Old Testament. Some things found in the meal are lamb, bitter herbs, and unleavened bread.
In Exodus, they didn't have time for the bread to leaven. They're supposed to eat with their sandals on, standing, ready to go. Crackers do not get moldy as fast as bread. It's the leaven that causes the corruption to happen. So there's some symbolism there, too, that we're supposed to be clean.
BYU-Idaho is holding the event to show how the symbolism in the meal also points to Christ and his atonement.
I like how it points towards the Savior. We do love and appreciate our Jewish friends and neighbors. This is not just a cultural celebration. This is a pointing towards Easter and what the Savior did for all of us.
The Passover dinner event will be held on Wednesday, April 1st at the Crossroads in the Manwaring Center building. Tickets for the event are sold out, but there may be a standby line to fill empty seats. You can find information about the event on the BYU-Idaho ticket website. Eastern Idaho is looking at some unfamiliar March weather, with most areas reaching the 70s today, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. After what's already been a mild winter, this week's temperatures have climbed into the 70s across most of southeast Idaho, which is well above the typical average for mid-March. According to meteorologist Don Herman with the National Weather Service in Pocatello, the reason comes down to an interesting weather.
So for this time of year, the warmth that we're seeing right now is being produced by a strong ridge of high pressure parked over the western United States.
Harmon explains that high pressure acts like a lid on the atmosphere that keeps out storm systems, allowing heat to build.
If you think of pressure as the weight of the atmosphere above the surface, higher pressure would imply that there's kind of a dome sitting above you, whereas low pressure would kind of be more like a bowl. And it's difficult for systems to try to push into that.
That dome doesn't just block storms, it actively contributes to warming. As air sinks under high pressure, it compresses and heats up.
What happens is in high pressure, it kind of wants to descend. It kind of wants to come down toward the surface. And when that happens, just the natural way of how the atmosphere works, it wants to warm up. So high pressure would tend to lead toward stagnant conditions, and in this case, warmer, whereas low pressure would involve a lot more air movement.
The result? Calm, dry, and increasingly warm conditions, which is something that stands out this time of year in eastern Idaho. While Idaho warms up, the eastern half of the country has seen the opposite pattern with cold temperatures and significant winter and snowstorms.
If the western half of the country is seeing very cold and wet, there's a really good chance that somewhere in the eastern side of the country, they're going to be very dry and very warm. What's happened this past winter, that's been reversed. We've had the very, very warm, dry ridge of high pressure dominating the western U.S. weather patterns, whereas the eastern half has had the low pressure and the cold and the precipitation. So that's just been the pattern that's locked into the country for this past winter.
That contrast shows just how stagnant this pattern has been and why Idahoans are experiencing an early taste of spring this week. The mayor of Nampa unexpectedly died last night during a town hall meeting. The Idaho Press reports Mayor Rick Hogaboam was speaking at Eagle City Hall at an event hosted by the Treasure Valley Partnership when he started to slur his speech and collapsed. Eagle Mayor Brad Pike, who was there and is a former firefighter, began CPR until emergency responders arrived. Mayor Helga Bohm was pronounced dead at 8:40 p.m. The 47-year-old mayor was only months into his first term as mayor. He previously served as the prior mayor's chief of staff. He also served as a Canyon County clerk on the Nampa City Council and a substitute Idaho state senator in 2021. He was also previously a senior pastor at Sovereign Grace Fellowship in Nampa. He is survived by his wife and 5 children. These have been your BYU-Idaho Radio Evening headlines for March 19th, 2026. Thanks for tuning in. More news, interviews, and great content are available on our podcast feed. Search for BYU-Idaho Radio on your favorite podcast apps. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and more. For BYU-Idaho Radio, I'm Kimber Pierce.